Welcome back to the Garden State Grow Show. Today, very special guest. We have Justin Williams of Quality First Basements. His position is the head of Real Estate Response Team, also known as the Real Estate Rescue Team. I just made that up.
I like the sound of it.
Justin comes in when there's questions about the basement. Justin, give us a high-level overview of kind of what your job is and why people call you.
Okay. I mean, the biggest problem when it comes to real estate, at least from my experience on the contracting side, is that there's a pretty big disconnect or a pretty big butting of the heads when it comes to real estate agents versus contractors. Contractors hate going to real estate transactions because most of the time they don't get the business.
Right.
So they end up charging a fee to at least pay for the gas and their time.
Right.
But on the real estate side, it ends up being an issue where they end up blowing up the deal by giving them multiple 5 to 6 figure quote when it could be done for a smaller scale. So the reason people call myself and my team is because we specialize knowing in the psychology of the real estate transaction and what your clients are dealing with, whether it's on the listing side or on the buying side. Mm-hmm. So if I'm able to fix it with a right size solution without overblowing it, I can always add bells and whistles afterwards for whoever's going to be purchasing the property. But based on the home inspection report, which obviously is 60, 70, sometimes over 100 plus pages of reasons not to buy the house that you just helped your clients fall in love with.
Right.
If I can fix it for a nominal cost and have it done before you even move in, I mean, why wouldn't we want to get you into your dream home, but just taking care of the issues?
I like you guys because it's an engineered solution where it's not just an opinion of an engineer who's not going to warranty the work.
No, I don't go in. People ask me all the time for my expert opinion. I tell everybody point of fact. I'm like, I'm not here to give you my expert opinion. If I would charge you for it because I think that it's worth it. But in all sincerity, I'm just there to give you a factual evaluation based on the field conditions, measurements, and scope of the work that's within the home that actually gets me from point A to point B to help you get to close.
Right. Craig, couldn't you have used Justin?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But
What's your problem?
I didn't know you back then.
We'll work on that.
Right?
So, yeah, like, just being in the real estate world, like he mentioned, a lot of deals like come to a head because we don't know who to call. First of all, if there's an issue, it's like, do I call an engineer? Do I call a handyman? Do I call a contractor? Like, who's calling balls and strikes here on what actually is needed and what's causing the problem and what the solution is? And then how much is the solution? And then who's guaranteeing the work?
That's very, very true. Yeah, because you're like, it's going to cost me $50,000. Like, well, actually, no, it's like $1,000.
Yeah, like who owns that number?
And then at that point, when you have that wide of a spectrum, it's like, who do I believe at that point?
Correct.
You lose trust with both parties, so you don't go with either. And then guess what? You get decision paralysis where you have your client that's now saying, I have somebody that's telling me this is going to cost me $50,000. And then I have a contractor who says, oh, I can fix it in a day. It's with chucking a truck for $1,000. Just pay me and my guys and maybe leave a 6-pack there while we're working too. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a wide spectrum, and there's so many smaller companies that can honestly make a really good living with these mom and pop contracting companies that they can survive doing these smaller jobs. But again, to your point, the warranties that they offer are
non-existent.
Exactly.
Yep. They're non-existent, or it's only good for like 1 week.
Or it's like, oh, I'll get back to you. I promise I'll fix it. And then it's again, who to call. You know who to call at that point, but are they calling you back? Are they answering the call? So,
right.
And that's why it's super important for us realtors to be connected with the right people so we can actually help guide them through, because I know there's a lot of sticking points and bumps throughout the transaction for when it comes to the inspections that we need to have someone else that is outside of quote unquote of the transaction to be almost a sounding board for the buyers or the sellers, or if you're going back and forth, because I know you deal with that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about you for a second. How'd you get into this business? What were you doing before this? This is kind of a random niche business.
Well, it's a niche business because we're changing the game when it comes to it. In all sincerity, I kind of fell into it. I went to school down at Rowan University. I wanted originally when I was getting into college, I wanted to go into sports broadcasting. I was a big baseball guy.
You look like a baseball guy.
Well, I played baseball, so I got the butt to prove it. But when it comes to the that side of the business, unless you're on television and making your big bucks, it's not exactly. It turned out to not be the niche that I wanted to get into. So from there, I went from journalism into English, and what can I do with English, because I was a good writer. So I actually was planning to become an English teacher, and I was teaching in a middle
I could tell by your emails that you send.
Very detailed. I have that incentive.
Proper indentation.
I have that incentive built into me to that I need to see the aha moment to know that I'm not just spouting.
Right.
I'm not just spouting and data dumping. So from the teaching industry to when I actually was going into the workforce, there wasn't as much of a need for the teachers. There was so much turnover or pink slipping that was going on that it didn't feel right to go into it. And the resources that teachers deal with or lack thereof is really the biggest problem, and in an unfortunate circumstance within our state. But my stepfather actually ended up being one of the salespeople that was over at Quality First Basements, and he said, "Hey, you're good with your hands. You're not dumb. Why don't you go there?"
Not dumb.
Not done.
Tired.
Perfect.
You got a pulse.
Check.
It's hard to find.
Why don't you go do that for a year or two until maybe you can find some openings? And I was in our service department, going to about 700 to 800 homes a year, basements, crawl spaces, all throughout. Anywhere. My territory was from New York City all the way down to Philly too. So
You're going into Manhattan?
Into not just Manhattan. I go all 5 boroughs.
Oh
all
my
5
God.
boroughs.
Whoa.
They give you a helicopter for that?
No, they just give me a nice little Sprinter van.
Yeah.
But
Perfect. Small talk. Go for it.
Yeah, anywhere from East New Jersey, aka Staten Island, all the way down to Jamaica, Queens at the end of
It's a big company.
Well, I mean, we're part of a network of networks as well. Quality First is, because we work with Contractor Nation and Basement Systems all together, where that's why all of our warranties are nationally backed as well. And so after about 6 or 7 years of doing service and starting a family with my wife, and when my son started being born and obviously growing up, somehow no one told me that a kid can also skip crawling. So when I would come home and my son was walking and Daddy couldn't keep up with him after going into 5 or 6 crawl spaces that day, I needed a lifestyle change. So I was actually planning to start fresh somewhere new. And what I wanted to do, the company was willing to back with its own infrastructure. And for what I wanted to do, I'd rather do it with somebody else's money than my own, especially when I have the backing to do it and the knowledge based on 7 years of experience.
This department, you didn't exist?
It had been tried and failed over and over for about a year and a half, to the point where the company didn't see the validity in it. Wow. And so when I started taking it apart and putting it back together in certain ways that I could help make it work, immediate success. I mean, I only started doing this probably about 8 months ago. And since then, I've positively affected over 110 million in real estate transactions just within the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
Just whether I've even had to do work at the home or not. That's the other part of it, is that sometimes you can go into a home and there's so many structural concerns and people don't know anything about foundations. And if a foundation repair specialist is coming out to your home saying you don't have a problem, I'll shake your hand right now and be able to vouch for that. And not only that, I'll send you a letter that has my letterhead to say, hey, this is exactly what I measured. This is exactly what's going on. At the end of the day, that helps people bridge to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah.
And
Peace of mind.
I didn't even have to pay. You didn't even have to pay me. So
that's the best part.
Except for
I like that part too. So just going through this and just finding the way to do it. Now it's a matter of scaling up the team so that we can help a lot more agents and a lot more brokerages.
You can only drive so far every day.
The gas tank fills up multiple times sometimes. I will say with these increased prices, I'm probably filling up every other day at this point now.
Let's talk about the most common issues you see.
Common issues. Well, water affects a house more ways than most people think.
And is there a style of home? I guess that'll be the next question.
Okay.
Go ahead. You go first.
So, most people, like, a common thing that you can definitely relate to, and possibly you too as well, is like, downspouts, a lot of things that are just dumping right next to the house, like just simple
That happened
stuff.
to my house, actually. Yeah.
And what ended up happening?
Oh, there's a lot of seepage that goes into the foundation, and then it bubbles and cracks, and then you basically, I was told, I don't know if it's true or not, I have to basically dig like 10 feet out, 10 feet down to get a brand new soil because it has almost like tracks of this water that basically it's almost like a highway for it. So you have to almost stop it from basically doing it and then redo the whole spout and then spit it back out.
Yeah, to some effect, you're right, but it's one of the ways that you can waterproof it from the outside of the home, and that's the most common like assumption that people are saying. Like they don't want to let the water in from an interior drainage standpoint.
Sure.
But the fact of the matter is that when you build a house, the first step of it is digging a giant hole. So you're disturbing every square foot of soil right next to it. So what's going to hold more water and what's going to actually allow water to come down? Loose soil or what we call virgin soil or undisturbed soil. The soil that's closest to your home is the most susceptible to creating all that hydrostatic pressure. So if you're not leading a bunch of water away or whatever your roof and your gutter systems are catching, that's one factor of it. But no matter what, like every single home, you're going to be dealing with some degree of hydrostatic pressure. We're going down into the earth. And if you dig 4 feet anywhere on your property, it's going to be wet. So,
yep, absolutely. And I also heard too that there's a lot of renovations and remodels and that kind of stuff. So it's more weight for the distribution of the water table as well.
Yeah.
And so the things like you weren't actually getting hit at all. And then now, in a few years later, there's been multiple renovations around your area. You might actually start seeing.
Yeah, and not even the renovations. Well, to your point, to the renovations, it's these big developments because housing. I mean, the younger generation that's trying to go into the buyer's market, you guys can see the trends are happening where first-time home buyers are getting older and older and older because it takes them so much time to get the down payment. So what they're end up doing is you also see they're also building a lot more apartment complexes. And in that, in turn, they're also building a lot more storage facilities because they have so much crap and nowhere to put it. But now all of that square footage is
I want to own a storage facility.
Me too. I would own 20 if I could.
Well, if you want that, let me know. I can help you.
We'll talk.
But enough.
But all the square footage of all those facilities is now taking away all that drainage. So it's bringing the water table up, and now other homes are being affected. So that it's
where maybe they weren't before.
Exactly. I tell you, when we had Ida, I've lived in this house 50 years, 30 years. It's like my grandfather built this house. There was never a drop of water, and then I had it all the way up to my eyeballs. Like it's crazy what our market and the dense population of New Jersey actually requires us to build. So it's you're fixing one problem, but potentially creating another.
So someone who's buying a house, first thing they want to check, downspouts?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first thing you're going to notice. You're going to walk up and see, okay.
It goes 3 inches away from the foundation.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Oh my God. And then they got the Home Depot thing, the little extenders that are like 3 feet long. Yeah, that doesn't
flapping around.
It doesn't do anything. You had a kid kick it and step on it. It's cracked everywhere. It's bent out of shape.
Whatever,
it doesn't do anything.
No,
you need
people
to
don't think about it. You know, as they're living there, they're not thinking about their downspouts.
It's one of the few things that it's not something where you can just extend a downspout and prevent all of your water problems, but it's a very common thing. Like every home inspection report is going to say, hey, it's going to be a problem. It can cause X, Y, Z. But a lot of the time, what people don't realize is that all that water doesn't just have the water come in and intrude and bubble and cause all of the dry lock paint that looks so beautiful in your home to bubble and crack and discolor.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I built something behind it. In front of it, whatever. You don't see it
out of sight. It's not there.
It's on the side of mine.
I don't see nothing. But
I don't see nothing.
But water with enough pressure can also create foundation issues.
Correct. And bends and it kind of bows a
It
little
can
bit.
bow in. It can cause settlement because the soil likes to absorb the water and swell. And then when it dries out and it shrinks, that combined with the weight of the structure causes it to compact. So a lot of times people don't realize how much water pressure can actually affect the home, but they also don't realize how it's fixable. Yeah. And you don't have to rebuild your entire foundation. You don't have to excavate and jack up your house the whole way in most cases.
No, I didn't know that. And no one actually told me this before, but like all my spouts, I had like 9. and they were within a couple of inches. They didn't know what's going on, and we were like, "Oh, we're gonna do a remodel. We might do I live on a ranch. And I was going to do a second story. Like, you know what? Let's kind of like get another quote of what's happening down there. And then Ida came through, and then we had a lot of water come through. Like, well, let's go and peel back the walls, see what happens. Foundational cracks and this and that. Like, and I was like, well, why is this happening? Well, all this water from your whole entire surrounding is making your foundation not strong. And let's say if you didn't do this and you built above it, it actually could collapse.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah.
That
I mean,
could completely collapse. Like, yeah. Like if you saw this, it was like 3 of the surroundings. I had foundational like step cracks.
Yep.
Behind the walls that were actually renovated. So you didn't see it until you actually broke down. And
well, you just said you put the wall up so you didn't see it.
yeah.
So
the flipper that came through, they hid a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. A lot. That's the other thing is you have the flippers or sometimes investors that actually care about what they're doing, not rather than just the margin. And they're taking care of all the cosmetics, everything's new sheetrock, new open model kitchen, new kitchen island, all this, gray walls, everything about it. But they're not addressing the water issues, which are really because they're all about their margin.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't realize how much water can actually affect it. It's like the easiest way to explain it is have you ever gone into a swimming pool?
Yeah.
Have you gone down and deeper into the swimming pool?
Yeah.
Do you feel more and more pressure as you have more and more water surrounding?
That's what we got to equalize.
Well, yeah. Or you get it all around.
Oh,
you
get around.
But that's the exact pressure that's up against your house now. And it's not just when you're diving down into the pool. It's what's consistently around it for every rain event.
How important is the grading around the house?
So there's 3 kinds of water that'll actually
that's always getting pointed out by the home inspector, but I feel like they're making a bigger deal about it than it is.
Well, the same to that effect, the soil swells and contracts based on how much water saturation there is. So through that and the loose soil, over time, on its own, it can compact. So
that's why it starts to look like it's leaning towards
the house. So that's why it starts to look like it's leaning towards the house. And you can even have, you have a buyer that says, oh, the home inspector said that there's negative grading. And the seller will say, yeah, I have a landscaping company and come and put topsoil every single day. Or every single season.
Every day.
Every day. Sometimes. No, but it's for every single season. So in that regard, it's not it affects the surface water, whatever rain gets on top of it, but there's still groundwater. There's still other forces that are affecting it. And there's the water table that obviously is contributed from the amount of water that drains down into it. So downspouts is a minimal cost, not even a fix. It's just, it helps to alleviate some degree of hydrostatic pressure. But a lot of the times it's actually more prevalent to actually help the water so that it gets the water faster. Gets away from the foundation faster.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, real world example, you just went to one of my clients' house and a lot of the downspouts were dumping on the house. $1 million plus house. And, the fix is like a couple grand. It's it's like nothing.
No.
Very minimal.
And that could save them $50,000 in the future from having a cracked foundation.
I'm less than a 1% fix on your home at that point. That's crazy. Why wouldn't you do that?
So could someone buy a house and then call you out to check it out even after they buy it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's something that I have a lot where people are like, hey, you help me fix what came up in the home inspection report. I kind of want to in your case, finishing a basement. I want to finish the basement, but I don't want to finish it twice. So I will come in to help you future-proof your investment. That's the way I phrase it.
That's phenomenal. I mean, that's the peace of mind is absolutely crazy. It's now I have a French drain, 2 sump pumps, everything is officially done. And now I'm any rainstorm, I'm like, yeah, bring it.
Yeah, so you don't need me at all.
I got nothing now. But before I was any rainstorm, oh my God, is this the day I have to be up in the middle of the night, shop vacuuming and dumping into the I'm like, I don't want that.
No. And most people who actually seek out waterproofing, it's because they've had a negative experience too.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
What is something you'd recommend for a buyer that's buying a house and the basement's already finished and you can't see the walls? What should they look for?
Destroy the walls.
Take
One
the wall.
option.
Just go down. Oopsies.
Just break it down. Just make it your own. No, I mean, there are some readings, there are some signs that you can tell from water intrusion, taking moisture readings, taking humidity level readings.
Do you guys do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, pinpoint moisture meter, you can get at Home Depot. That's really nothing crazy.
You can put that on a wall.
Yeah. Put it on a wall, put it on the drywall, put it on the baseboard, put it on whatever. Taking a hygrometer, checking for humidity issues. There are a lot of signs that can be seen for the trained eye, but when you're going in, or even if you're a home buyer, because that's the other side of the coin, is that when you're going to buy a house and you're a bit concerned about a water problem, even if you're able to identify it, on the flip end of the coin, the seller is like, well, now I feel like I neglected my own home. Like, it's almost an insult to tell me that I didn't address something. I put all this work into it. I've lived here for X amount of years, but now I have somebody coming in telling me all the deficiencies within my home. Now I have an expert coming in giving you a repair plan, telling you what the quote is, when it's not an insult to it. Water is a very developmental problem, and it's not as well aware of what there's not as much awareness when it comes to that. Yeah. So there are definitely other things that you can take a look at that are, or not even, there are different readings and different factors that you can take into account to see if there is a potential problem. The severity of it is potentially up for interpretation based on the lack of information from being behind a finished wall.
Interesting. This could be breaking news. Are there parts of New Jersey that have worse basement issues than others?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, it's really about.
Or how about this? A year. I'm trying to get something.
I don't want to cut out a market.
Wait.
I really want to sell these guys.
What about like homes from the 1960 to 1970, for example? Is there a decade where homes were built where they just didn't do basements as good as other?
I mean, when it comes to, there's a reason that there's a phrase that the house has good bones, because the building materials change over time.
Sometimes they get worse.
Exactly.
The wood is better than the older homes.
The wood is better, but sometimes the water has also affected the wood. So, I mean, wood tries to remember it was a tree at one point, so it tries to absorb as much of the water as it can.
Interesting.
But when it comes to specifics, I mean, New Jersey as a whole, we're a very historic, we've been around since the beginning of our country. It's crazy to think that we're at 250 years this year, but it's
literally,
we're literally at 250 years. We're this year on July 4th, but it's not always what you can. There's not a niche. Yeah. There's not a niche location or a niche decade.
Okay.
There are development companies that can potentially, if one house was built and it has an issue, odds are if the whole development, the whole community was built by the same builders, there's more than likely some there's some consistencies across the board.
It's a copy and paste.
Yeah,
and they're not going to be like, oh, that one's going to be different because I'm putting more money into this one than not that one. It's like, no, it's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing. And to your point, where real estate agents have their own team, so do general contractors. And they also sub out different scopes of the work that'll also take care of their niche, so that this guy, I got my guy who's coming in, putting in the footers and the foundation. Then the next guy I have is coming in the framing. Yeah. While that's going on, I have that first guy going in doing the next house and going in the next house and the next. So it's not necessarily specifics, but when you can find a development that's been dealing with certain issues, most of the time you can find that it's a consistent problem in the neighborhood.
I didn't realize how rare my neighborhood is. We have our downspouts going into underground pipe systems and out to
that's the best way to do it.
The street drainage.
Public drainage, yeah. But if you have the infrastructure, it's really, really helpful. But it's
not a lot of people have
money. It's money.
Oh, it's expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, shout out to Hillsborough for making our builder do that.
There are some towns
we may have the cheapest windows in the world.
There are some towns that I go to, and you don't even see a storm drain for blocks, for streets, for it's crazy. There's no public drainage at that point, and those are the houses that suck.
Yeah. All right, we're looking for downspout infrastructure.
Yep.
We're looking for street drains.
At the very base level. Very base level.
Because that means there's some infrastructure.
Potentially.
To help get the water away.
It can be hollow.
Everything's potential. It's all, but potential is good and bad.
So you guys finished basements.
Yep.
Okay. So you could hire them to waterproof and finish your basement with a guarantee, right? A
One-stop
waterproof
shop.
guarantee.
Yep.
Let's say they didn't want to use you to finish, okay? They could bring you in to just waterproof it, right?
To future-proof your investment. When it comes to building materials, again, the same way a builder has their margin, every homeowner has their own budget, and they have their own idea of what everything's going to cost.
And it's wrong.
And it's always wrong. It's always
triple the money.
always wrong.
It's always, well,
Triple
that
it.
doesn't factor into my budget. I researched how much studs and sheetrock cost. I didn't really anticipate having a water problem. But and those are the people that I end up going out to and having to rip it out before I waterproof it again. So I can future-proof the investment by putting in whatever is necessary, whether it's a wall covering with a vapor barrier and a French drain system with sump. That's the generic side of it for anybody that wants to do it in their own residence. But a lot of the time it's making a mountain out of a molehill when it comes to real estate and saying that, hey, I'm buying this house. I plan on finishing it. This is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come in and say, okay, my finishing materials are of the inorganic material, because we know if water gets on organic material, it has a chance for mold growth, all the absorption.
Yeah, tell us about like this. If you're finishing the basement, your company,
Yep.
how's that different than chucking a truck?
Well, chucking a truck is going to come in with wood. Chucking a truck coming in
said
with wood, sheetrock, everything. The lesser costly materials, fiberglass insulation, plastic vapor barrier, all of these are organic materials. So if they get wet, guess what? They have to be replaced, or they have to be remediated immediately in order to get that. So then you're dealing with a mold remediation company at the worst level. But when we come in, we're using inorganic material. We're using aluminum for the framework. We're using cement board for the walling systems. We're using graphite infused foam board to provide proper insulation that can also protect it. And when it comes to all of these materials, they're materials that we can warranty.
Ooh.
That's the biggest thing, is that I can warranty your entire finished basement from the ground up. Whereas chucking a truck's going to come in, give you pretty much
Zero warranty.
give you the same effect. You
Yeah.
can paint the walls, whatever you want to do with it. But when there's a problem, it's not expedient service on the return side.
High risk.
Yeah.
Greg, did you write that down?
No.
His basement can get wet. The shop vac it, dry it out. You don't have to refinish the basement. That's insane.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, our walling systems, you could submerge them in water for 3 days. The only thing that's going to happen is that the vinyl on the front that gives you a textured finish, it'll start to peel up.
That's a lot. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
No,
Or
but that's
you're
phenomenal.
gutting. Or
Like-
you're gutting.
I mean, and that. I mean, it's mine was a lot. It was like 65 G's
Mm-hmm.
to renovate the whole entire basement and do everything. It's like that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if you can just do it once, future proof.
And when you have to do it a second time, is it going to be less or more expensive?
Let's see. My thing is, I'm gonna go up.
Well, building materials keep going up.
Always.
I mean, look at the price of wood just
pay for
from
it twice.
before COVID to after. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So if you're buying or selling a home with a basement, I would even say if I'm working with a client and they have an unfinished basement, I may call Justin, just come in and check it out. before
I
we
think
go on the market.
that's what you should probably just keep on doing.
Well, that's the whole point, is like I have two different types of appointments when I go to a home. I either have a proactive or a reactive. Proactive is usually a preferred agent of mine that I've already done work with, and they have a listing, and they want to make sure that they're doing their pre-listing inspection, because top agents, like you guys know, problems that have been identified and addressed prior to listing, the house is going to sell for its appropriate value, and it's not going to sit on the market, because if you find these problems on a reactive basis, aka after the buyer has a home inspector come in and scare the crap out of them, and then they also have a secondary company come and give them the biggest quote that they possibly can, and
Correct.
trying to do the right thing in their mind because they're trying to get a credit on the home, it's not conducive with actually what's going to help benefit your clients. So I do a lot of pre-listing inspections as well,
that's great.
and I do it on two different tiered levels. One is I can do a consultation where we kind of just do a walk and talk. I'm not going to do any measurements. I'm not going to go anything through. I'm just going to point out a thing or two or here and there where it might come up on a home inspection report, because you could have 5 home inspectors that come into the same home and their reports, as long as they're never going to fully overlap every single time. Now, if I do come across something that's more of a concern, I go to an evaluative standpoint where I'm like, listen, the consult is more on the side where you don't have to disclose anything. If you're selling the home and I don't see anything that's really major, it may be not a concern to you. Somebody may come in and say that it's a concern to them. But when I see something that I know is going to come up, like if anybody has eyes and has some wherewithal, because on the back end, the home inspectors are also good because they have a general knowledge of everything that has to go onto a home. So the reason that their pages or their reports are so many pages is because they have to account for so much. But then when it comes to a structural standpoint, they're, hey, CYA, see expert in this, see this, like see expert.
Always.
and guess what? Every single one is fee. So all of your clients are just getting feed to death.
Yeah, and they're like, do I want to pay for this if they're not going to fix it?
Exactly. And then you're asking for concessions. There's a butting of the heads when there's a shifting of the market. So when I go to an evaluative standpoint, I say, this is what it would take to fix this issue. And then from there, it's completely up to you on whether you want to have the work taken care of before you go and list the home, or you can price the home accordingly, knowing that, hey, this is a repair that that's probably going to come up. And at least now, after a home inspector has come and scared the crap, be like, we already know what the repair plan is.
And
this
here it is.
And here it is. Here's the exact cost. And if it's a sticking point for you, and a lot of times when you're selling a home, you're also buying a home at the same time. So most people don't want to fork out the money to also pay for the repairs to be done. On a reactive standpoint, when you're already under contract and somebody's really dying to buy your house, but this is really a concern that's really holding up the transaction, we can offer a pay at close option where we just become a part of the transaction of the home. Yeah. It's not money out of your pocket. It's the issues are being addressed. The buyers are happy that you're addressing the issues, and it's also being taken care of before they move in too. So they don't hear jackhammers. They don't hear anything else that has to go on, but they can move in knowing that their home is safe. Right. So there's a vast benefit to having everything done well before you get into the listing period. And then on the back end, when I go to the reactive side, there's knowing how to right size the solution where you can fix it without over fixing it and blowing up the entire deal.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, the pay at close model is huge. That saves so many deals because the sellers know it needs to get done. They just don't want to sell stocks.
Listen,
things like that.
If I was in your home, most of the time I would say, listen, if I was in your home, I probably would also, I can empathize. I could probably say, listen, that horizontal crack that shows that the wall's moving in, it's been the same thing. It's been the exact same. It's never moved the entire time that I've lived here. I bought the house like that. Yeah. A new homeowner doesn't have that same home experience, but they know, hey, I shouldn't have cracks in my foundation. I really don't think that that's how they built it. So if you have a repair plan set aside, it's at that point, it's a speeding ticket.
Takes it off the table.
Is it well worth the speeding ticket to go to court and fight it in court just to try and get a reduced rate? And you might still lose. Or just pay the darn ticket and just get on with it. This way you can move on and you're not balancing potentially 2 mortgages at the same time because you were planning to buy this house and now all of a sudden you have to pay both ends of the house and restage it, go through that whole process. Both sides lose when both sides agree to walk away.
Yeah, I agree. If a real estate agent or a home buyer or seller wants to bring you in, what's the best way to reach you?
My cell phone.
What's the cell phone?
What's your cell phone number?
908-477-8974.
Cool. And they can book the appointments directly with you?
Directly with me, just because if you call me directly, I'm usually out there within 48 hours. I leave myself pretty flexible just to make sure that I can get out there because the nature of the real estate transaction, everything has to happen so darn quickly. Yeah. Yep. There's due diligence, there's attorney review, there's the inspection period. And I just don't want to be the contractor that you call and you have to wait on.
Yeah,
that's what I really try to make sure that I can get out there for it.
So your week's pretty dynamic.
I would say, my home office is my car. Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. So it's
Well, I appreciate what you're doing for the real estate community, and you're saving a lot of deals, I'm sure.
So
you know,
we
which
appreciate
is
it.
helping agents, buyers, and sellers.
110 million just in the past 6 months alone.
Wow. So, appreciate you coming on and giving us some insight here. We could talk all day about basements, but Greg has to eat lunch.
Yeah, so do I.
So you got Justin's info. You know how to reach him. If you forgot the number, just reach out to me. I'll send it to you. But appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to you saving more deals in the future.
Absolutely.
You
Thanks
should
for
wear a
coming on.
cape when you go out.
You should.
Not all heroes wear capes.
That's right. We'll end it on that. See you guys. Thanks.
Bye.